Everybody.
System, there's law, and it applies to everyone, even him.
Whatever you're looking for.
The Batman Part 2 continues the darker and more grounded interpretation of Gotham City introduced in the first film, expanding the world while deepening the psychological exploration of its central character. Rather than presenting a version of Batman who is already a polished and fully confident hero, the story follows a Bruce Wayne who is still learning what it truly means to be a symbol of justice in a city that is deeply corrupted and emotionally wounded. The events of the previous story left Gotham in chaos, with its power structures shaken and its citizens uncertain about whether their city can ever recover. This unstable environment becomes the perfect breeding ground for new threats to emerge. In this continuation, Bruce Wayne struggles with the consequences of his actions and the realization that fear alone cannot save Gotham. While he initially believed that becoming a symbol of vengeance would scare criminals into submission, he now understands that the city needs something more hopeful and constructive. This internal conflict shapes his approach as Batman, pushing him to evolve from a shadowy figure of fear into a protector who must inspire trust among ordinary people. The film explores this transformation slowly, showing how difficult it is for Bruce to open himself emotionally after years of isolation and trauma. Gotham City itself feels like a living character, its rain-soaked streets, flickering streetlights, and towering buildings creating a sense of constant pressure and unease. The city is still recovering from flooding and political turmoil, and the rebuilding process exposes new layers of corruption and desperation. Crime has not disappeared. Instead, it has shifted and reorganized, with different factions fighting to fill the power vacuum left behind. This chaotic environment creates a complex web of alliances and rivalries, making it harder for Batman to identify who the real enemy is at any given moment. One of the central threads of the story involves Bruce Wayne, attempting to step more publicly into his role as a member of Gotham's elite. In the past, he avoided public appearances and responsibilities, preferring to operate only as Batman. Now he begins to realize that Bruce Wayne himself can be a tool for change, using his wealth and influence to support the city's recovery. This dual responsibility creates tension, as he must balance the expectations of society with his nighttime activities, all while keeping his secret identity intact. The film uses this conflict to explore the idea that true change requires effort both in the shadows and in the light. As Batman becomes more active in investigating new crimes, he encounters a series of mysterious incidents that appear unrelated at first, but gradually form a larger pattern. Criminals are being manipulated and coordinated in ways that suggest the presence of a mastermind working behind the scenes. This new adversary is not interested in simple chaos or public spectacle, but instead prefers subtlety and psychological manipulation, targeting Gotham's institutions and exploiting their weaknesses. The investigation becomes a puzzle, forcing Batman to rely more on detective work than brute force. Selina Kyle also continues to play an important role in Bruce's life, though their relationship remains complicated. Their previous encounters created a bond based on mutual understanding, yet their goals and methods are not always aligned. Selina operates in morally gray areas, focusing on survival and personal freedom, while Bruce is trying to build a clearer sense of justice and responsibility. Their interactions carry emotional tension, as both characters care about each other but are unsure whether they can truly trust one another. This dynamic adds a human element to the story, reminding audiences that even heroes struggle with relationships and vulnerability. As the mystery deepens, Batman uncovers connections between powerful figures in Gotham and criminal organizations that have been quietly influencing the city for years. This discovery reinforces the idea that Gotham's problems are not limited to street-level crime but are deeply embedded in its institutions. The more Bruce investigates, the more he realizes that some of the people he once believed were allies may have their own hidden agendas. This sense of betrayal forces him to question how far corruption truly reaches and whether Gotham can ever be fully cleansed of it. The film also explores the psychological toll that being Batman continues to take on Bruce Wayne: sleepless nights, constant danger, and the emotional burden of witnessing suffering begin to wear him down. He becomes increasingly aware that he cannot carry the weight of the entire city on his own, yet he struggles to accept help or to trust others with his mission. These moments of vulnerability are portrayed through quiet scenes of introspection, where Bruce is left alone with his thoughts in the Batcave or in the empty halls of Wayne Manor. These sequences highlight the loneliness that defines his life and the sacrifices he has made in order to pursue his crusade. A new wave of criminals begins to adopt more extreme tactics, emboldened by the chaos and inspired by the myth of Batman himself. Some see him as a hero, while others view him as a symbol of lawlessness and take his methods as justification for their own violence. This unintended consequence forces Bruce to confront the idea that his actions may be shaping Gotham in ways he never intended. The film uses this conflict to explore the broader theme of how symbols can be interpreted differently by different people, often leading to unpredictable outcomes. As the identity of the hidden mastermind slowly comes into focus, Batman finds himself facing an opponent who understands his psychology and uses it against him. This adversary studies his patterns, anticipates his moves, and sets traps that force him into difficult moral choices. Instead of relying solely on physical confrontations, the villain engages Batman in a battle of intellect and ideology, challenging his beliefs about justice, fear, and redemption. This creates a tense cat-and-mouse dynamic that drives much of the film's suspense. Gordon remains one of Batman's most trusted allies, serving as a bridge between the vigilante and the official law enforcement system. However, even Gordon is under increasing pressure from political leaders and other officers who question his cooperation with a masked vigilante. This tension highlights the fragile nature of their partnership and the risk both men take by working together. Their shared goal of protecting Gotham keeps them united, but the strain on the police department makes their collaboration more dangerous and complicated than before. The film's action sequences are grounded and intense, focusing on realism rather than spectacle. Fights are brutal and exhausting, emphasizing the physical cost of Batman's nightly battles. Car chases through narrow, rain-slicked streets and confrontations in dimly lit warehouses create a sense of urgency and danger. Yet even in these moments of action, the story never loses sight of its emotional core, always returning to Bruce's internal struggle and the moral questions he faces. As the story approaches its climax, Gotham faces another major crisis engineered by the hidden mastermind. The plan is designed not just to cause destruction, but to undermine the fragile hope that has begun to emerge in the city. Batman must race against time to unravel the final pieces of the puzzle, while also confronting the personal weaknesses that his enemy has been exploiting. This final confrontation tests not only his physical strength, but also his ability to remain true to his evolving sense of justice. Selina becomes involved in this conflict in ways that force her to make difficult choices about her own future. She is torn between leaving Gotham behind to escape its dangers or staying to help the few people she cares about. Her decisions intersect with Batman's mission, creating moments where their paths align and others where they clash. These interactions highlight the different ways people respond to trauma and hardship, with Selina prioritizing personal freedom while Bruce remains committed to sacrifice. The climax unfolds in a tense and emotionally charged sequence that brings together the film's central themes of fear, hope, corruption, and redemption. Batman must confront the mastermind not just as an enemy to be defeated, but as a reflection of Gotham's darkest impulses. The villain's motivations are rooted in a twisted desire to expose the city's hypocrisy, forcing Batman to defend the idea that Gotham is still worth saving. This ideological clash gives the final confrontation weight beyond simple hero versus villain spectacle. In the aftermath of the crisis, Gotham is once again left to pick up the pieces. The city has suffered damage but has also shown resilience, with ordinary citizens stepping up to help one another in ways they had not before. Bruce Wayne begins to see that his efforts are slowly inspiring change, not just through fear but through the example of standing against injustice. This realization reinforces his decision to embrace a more hopeful version of Batman, one who represents not only vengeance but also protection and guidance. The film closes with Bruce continuing to navigate the delicate balance between his two identities. As Bruce Wayne, he becomes more visible in public life, using his resources to support rebuilding efforts and social programs. As Batman, he remains in the shadows, vigilant and prepared for whatever new threats Gotham may face. The journey is far from over, but he has taken meaningful steps toward becoming the hero Gotham truly needs. Not just as a symbol of fear, but as a guardian of hope in a city that is still learning how to believe in a better future.